بار دیگر نعرے صلوات اللہ. صرف دو بند سلام کے، اس کے بعد مختصر سا مرثیہ. مصلحت امام تھی تلوار نہ ملے عباس کو، ورنہ لعینوں کے تمام ہاتھ کٹتے سروں سے پہلے. بعد عباس سے لے کر آج تک زمانے کی ایک حسرت ابھی باقی ہے. تاریخ میں جھوٹے نبی بنے خدا بھی، مگر مجال کسی کی نہ ہوئی کوئی عباس بنے. بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. پکاری لاش پہ زہرا میرے حسین حسین، کفن بھی تو نے نہ پایا میرے حسین حسین. میں آئی ہوں تیرے رونے کو خلد سے بیٹا، مجھے دے اٹھ کے دلاسا میرے حسین حسین. اسی لیے تجھے پالا تھا فاطمہ نے حسین، اسی لیے تجھے پالا تھا فاطمہ نے حسین. پڑا ہے دھوپ میں لاشا میرے حسین حسین. تمہارے ساتھ اٹھائی تھی لاش اکبر کی، کہو تو لے چلوں مظلوم میرے تم کو بھی. مجھے ہے یاد ابھی تک خیام کا رستہ، پکاری لاش پہ زہرا میرے حسین حسین. تو ہاتھ رکھتا ہے بیٹا کبھی ہٹاتا ہے، اے لال فاطمہ زہرا سے کیا چھپاتا ہے. میں جانتی ہوں جو ہوتا ہے، میں جانتی ہوں جو ہوتا ہے درد پہلو کا. بپا قیام حسینی میں ہو گیا محشر، قلم جو میر تکلم ہوا سر. کٹے گلے سے لپٹ کر یہ ماں کا تھا نوحہ، کفن بھی تو نے نہ پایا میرے حسین حسین. بر محمد آل محمد صلوات.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات. Can you please add 5 times Amma Ejibul for Brother Fayaz Haji, who had an operation a couple of days ago. for Brother Hatif Shirazi, who's I think cousin of Aga Hashim, and all those who are not feeling well. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Amma yujibul mustarra iza da'ahu wa yakshifu su. Amma yujibul mustarra iza da'ahu wa yakshifu su. عما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء عما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء عما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء اللهم صل على محمد. Can you please ask for a Fatiha for the Marahmin Surah Al-Mubarakat Al-Fatiha? Bismillah. Can you please invite Shaykh Abbas Ismail to the Mimbar with a loud Nara Salawat Bar Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad Salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين شفيع المذنبين رحمة للعالمين مولانا وسيدنا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرض مولانا حجة ابن الحسن عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والذين جاهدوا فينا لنهدينهم سبلنا والله وإن الله لمع المحسنين صدق الله العلي العظيم بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات اللهم صل على محمد. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all our azadari, all our mourning and grief for Sayyid al-Shuhada, Imam Hussain. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the wasila of Janab Fatima, that she rewards us and that she is happy with our small efforts. Thank you, Veda. That she rewards us and that she is happy with our small efforts, inshallah, and that our tears find a way into the rumal of Janab Sayyida, and that she rewards us for this on the Day of Judgment. The last time I was here, if I'm not mistaken, was just before Sayyid Zishan actually joined the Jamaat. And if you remember, in those days, I had chosen a series of lectures. I think there were 4 lectures which were on yearning for Imam Zaman. And I had told you at that time that you were the only Jamaat at that stage. I had approached a few Jamaats, but you were the only Jamaat who had agreed for me to give those lectures. So those 4 lectures now are turning into a 40 lecture series. So inshallah, you are all sharik and joined in the sawab of that. And may Imam Zaman bless you, inshallah, for that. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. Inshallah, in a future opportunity, if I have a few lectures together, then we can expand upon that more, and those lectures can be given here as well. But for tonight's lecture, because it's a one-off, I've chosen a different topic, which is really how we join ourselves into these ayyam-e-azaa, these days of mourning for Imam Hussain alayhi salam, and what we are trying to do and how we are trying to maximize these days and nights of grief over Aba Abdullah. And this is all centered around one central thing, which is the niyat, the intention of a person. That when the intention is pure and correct, then those a'mal and those deeds that we perform, they have a much more amazing effect on a person, and they elevate a person more. Many a times we find that we go into Muharram, into Arba'een, into Ramazan, into Rajab and Sha'ban. It doesn't have any lasting effect on us, and sometimes that's because the niyat is not right. Here, I'm not talking about niyat being for other than Allah. I'm sure we all do these things for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but sometimes our niyat doesn't have the specialness that it should have, and therefore we don't get the impact and the effect that we should have from these things. In the lives of the ulama, you may have heard of this name of a great alim. May Allah bless his soul and the souls of all our deceased ulama, inshallah, and the living ulama, may he give them a long life. This is someone called Akhunde Khurasani. You may not have heard that name. It's not a very famous name amongst the community, but amongst the Hawzavis and amongst the ulama, this is a great, great scholar. Not only was he the marja of his time, the genius of his time, but also he was extremely good in training his other students. For example, from amongst his students, there is Ayatollah Burjardi. He was a student of Akhunde Khurasani. Ayatollah Naini was a student of Akhunde Khurasani. And then there's another one called Ayatollah Shaykh Mirza Abdullah Gulpaygani. Not the great Gulpaygani that we had done taqleed of for a short time before we did the taqleed of Sayyid Sistani, Hafadhullah. This is another Gulpaygani. So Gulpaygan is a small town in Iran, and anyone from there is known as Gulpaygani. So these are very, very powerful scholars that that small town has produced. So this was Ayatollah Mirza Gulpaygani, Abdullah Mirza Gulpaygani. And he was one of the best students of Akhunde Khurasani, and he left this world actually at a very young age. Something around age 45, he died and he left this world. But he was amongst the best, if not the best, student of Akhund. And they say that after he died at the young age of 45, some of the pure souls, some of the pure, good, salih, mukhlis, sincere people of Najaf, they saw him in a dream. And they asked him, tell us, how was your experience when you passed over to the other side, when you left this world? How was your experience? So his report was very interesting. He said that after burying me, two angels came and they started to question me. So this questioning of the angels is something that is very mentioned in our hadith, that as soon as the person is buried, without much delay, if I'm not mistaken, there's a hadith of Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wassalam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Muhammad, who says something like that: the sounds of the footsteps of the people in the janazah, the ones who came for the funeral, the sounds of their footsteps is still to be heard around the grave, and the questioning begins. Like it's very soon, happens very quickly. So this is why actually we have two talqeens in Mayyat. We have one wajib talqeen, then we have one mustahab talqeen. The wajib talqeen is the normal one that everyone knows, Isma Ifham, where we shake the shoulders of the deceased and we recite all of that talqeen to remind them of the beliefs and all of the realities, that when the two angels come to you and they ask you, then say this and say this and they say this. That's one talqeen, that is wajib. And then we have another talqeen. After the burial, after the soil is put and after people start to leave, it is recommended that few people remain, or at least one person remains, and then another talqeen is recited. Because basically the questioning is starting almost at that time. Anyway, his narration was very interesting. He says that when the two angels came and they asked me, what have you brought? What have you brought with you? You see, when a person dies, people in the world, the worldly people, they say, what has he left behind? But the angels, they say, what have you brought? People are interested, what money and property have you left behind? The angels are interested in, what have you brought with you? So they said, what have you brought with you? So he says that when they asked me this, I began telling them, I've brought my research, my writing, my study. I trained so many students. They said, no, this has shortcomings. Because, for example, you wrote a book, but you wrote your own name there. So you got some fame and fortune for that. And, your other activities, yes, but there were some shortcomings in that. So he said, okay, I've brought my ibadat, my namaz, my roza. They said, yeah, well, this everyone does. Everyone does this. You being of the station that you were, being a scholar, being a mujtahid, being a student of Akhund, we expected more from you. So he said, then I've got tawassul and zari and girya and crying and tawassul and contact with Aimma alayhim assalam. They said, yes, but other people also did this. We had more expectation from you. So what else have you brought? So he said, I don't have anything else. They said, actually, we have something very special that you have brought with you. He said, what is it? So they said, do you remember that one night in Najaf? You're talking nearly 90, 100 years ago, yeah? One night in Najaf, do you remember that you received a knock on your door and it was a group of people from your hometown, Gulpegan, and they had come for the ziyarat of Amirul Mu'mineen. And they knocked on your door and they were your guests that evening, and you had the honor of doing of hosting them. He said, yeah, I remember. And they said, do you remember then what happened? That you were very poor and you had nothing in your house. You had no food to give them even. You had nothing even to offer your guests. And then what did you do? You said to them, wait here, I'm coming. And you came out of your house and you had this intention that let me go and find some of those businessmen of Najaf and I take a loan. I take a small loan from whoever I can find. I'll buy some things and I'll serve my guests. And then what happened? You were walking and you tripped over and you fell over and you fell on the ground and you hurt your foot. He goes, yes, I remember this. So they said to him, then what happened? Then in your mind you had a thought. You said, Khudaya, what is this? Look at me, I'm in such a bad state. You had such silly thoughts in your mind that, Khudaya, I don't have anything even to offer. Do char mehman ke liye, I don't even have enough things to offer. That someone came to my house and knocked on my door and I still don't even have things to offer to 2 or 4 people. What kind of situation is this, Khudaya? What kind of thing is this that is happening to me? And you felt so sorry for yourself. But then in the next second, you came to your senses. And you said to yourself, no, what is this? What kind of things am I saying? These are the guests of Amirul Mu'mineen. This is a great honor for me. They've come to do the ziyarat of the King of Kings, of Sayyidul Awsiya, of Amirul Mu'mineen. And then you said that they will bring their own barakat. They will bring their own blessings. And then you came to your senses and you said, no, what kind of silly things am I saying? And then you just uttered one sentence. You said, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Do you remember that? And he said, yes, I do remember that. And I said, this is very special. This is going to save you in Barzakh. This thought you had and this sentence which you said, this is going to save you in Barzakh. So you see, sometimes the way we judge things and the way Allah judges things is very different. Sometimes we think the biggest thing we've done, the most amazing thing we've done, Allah will appreciate. But maybe no. Maybe there were things in there which were full of shortcomings. Maybe your niyat was not good or other things, and Allah will not accept them as you think they will be accepted. And maybe sometimes the smallest thing, which you don't even remember, which you don't even count, will be remembered by Allah and He will reward you. Sometimes we look at things in a very superficial way. We look at things like, for example, how many likes or subscribers or people in my lectures or in my majalis, how many are there? But that's not important, is it, to Allah? What is important is, for example, is Bibi Fatima in my majlis? Is Imam Zaman in my majlis? This is what is important. So sometimes we can think that we've done so much, but really in front of Allah it's not a lot. And sometimes we think we've done nothing, or we can't even remember the things we have done, but Allah values it. So the criteria we have is very different, and the criteria which Allah has is very different. When we look at this criteria, the thing that will determine the specialness of our action, it stems from the niyat that we have. The niyat. It's not about the amount we do. It's not about the amount of activities and the amount of projects and the amount of activities that we do. It is the niyat that it stems from. That is what is important. So Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salatu wassalam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. He has this dua in Sayfa Sajjadiyah, dua number 20. And in that, he says the following: Allahumma waffir bilutfika niyati. O Allah, through thy gentleness, grant my intention expansiveness. وَالصَّحِّحْ بِمَا عِنْدَكَ يَقِينِي. Rectify my certainty through what is with thee. وَاسْتَصْلِحْ بِقُدْرَتِكَ مَا فَسَدَ مِنِّي. Set what is corrupt in me through thy power, set it correct. Because we have many corruptions in our heart. We have many things. We may think that we are so pure and we have done so many good things and we're doing so many good things. Inshallah, may Allah accept all of those. But sometimes deep down there are issues. There is arrogance, there is pride, there is showing off, there is some selfishness. You can't be humble, you can't be gentle with people, you can't humble yourself, especially with those people that you should be humble to, like elders and parents and teachers and these things. This is a big issue. So Imam Sajjad alayhi salam says, وَأَسْتَصْلِحْ. Rectify, purify, sort me out. بِقُدْرَتِكَ مَا فَسَدَ مِنِّي. What is corrupt in me. But the first line which I recited, Allahumma waffir bilutfika niyati. Waffir. What is waffir? Waffir means, this comes from the word wufur. Wufur means to expand or to make something very large or expansive. And what the Imam here is saying, according to our ulama, the Imam is saying, give me the ability to have a niyat in everything I do. Expand my, it's not just when you pray namaz you have a niyat, when you do some ibadat you have a niyat. Yes, those things have a niyat. But give me a niyat in everything I do. Everything I do should have a niyat for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now how is that possible? It's very easy actually. If you think about it, it's very easy. It's just we don't have the habit. But to bring this habit is not difficult, it just takes some practice. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. He says to Hazrat Abu Dhar, Janab Abu Dhar, the great companion, he says, "Oh Abu Dhar, have a niyat in everything you do, even in your sleeping and your eating. Have a niyat for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Give it that color of Allah, give it that flavor of Allah. Bring Allah in your life with your niyat." The problem is that Allah is not in our lives. Allah doesn't play a role in our lives. Imam Zaman doesn't play a role in our lives. So the idea is to bring them into life with this method of having a niyat for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in everything we do. Because you're going to do it anyway. You have to eat to stay alive. You have to nourish yourself. But you can have a niyat and you can say, Khudaya, with this food that I'm eating, the energy I'm getting, I want to eat so that I can pray better. I want to sleep so that I can be fresh. Have this niyat in your mind that everything you do has a niyat of Allah behind it. There was a man who was a great friend. He was not a scholar. He was a great friend of Ayatollah Bahauddini. Bahauddini was an amazing personality of Qum. He's buried in the haram of Bibi Masuma. And this man, he was a great friend of Ayatollah Bahauddin. He was not a scholar, but he's a very special person. And one day they said to him, let's go, come with us. We go to the outskirts of Qom, and we go where the mountains are. It's a bit cooler. Qom is very hot in the summer, so we go there. So what he said to them, he says, the place we are going, is there any Imam Zada buried there? Is there any son or daughter of an Imam which is buried there? Iran has lots of Imam Zadegan all around, especially Qom and the surrounding areas. Lots of Imam Zada are buried in those areas. So he asked them, this place where you want to go, is there an Imam Zada there? They said, yes, there is, but we want to go and relax. He said, no, if there's an Imam Zada there, then we go. So his intention was to do ziyarat of one of the children of the Imam. So imagine, his going there was ibadat, his coming back was ibadat, his time there was ibadat. But he did the same thing, he did the relaxation as well. When you sleep, for example, why not have an intention, Khudaya, I'm sleeping at a time in which I'm trying to rest myself so that I can wake up before Fajr. Even 5 minutes, 10 minutes before Fajr. Even, the ulama say, even if you don't want to do anything, you don't have energy, for example, to pray. Some people say, oh, we can't do that, it's too difficult. Well, I don't think it's very difficult, but okay, let's say for someone it is difficult. No problem. 5 minutes, don't do anything, just stay awake. Even that is ibadat. Even just being awake at the time of sahar, that pre-fajr time, is ibadat. Even just to be awake, even just to reflect, even just to be present in that time is an ibadat. So your sleep becomes an ibadat. Then you do wudu before you sleep, even more it becomes an ibadat. You can say to your Lord, Khudaya, I'm doing wudu, count it as an ibadat for me. Don't let this quarter of my life, because quarter of our life is going in sleeping. Don't let this quarter of my life just be written in my Nama-ya Amal, in my record of deeds, as something empty without any deeds. Let it be something that you reward me for. So now to link that to Imam Hussain Sayyidul Shuhada, what we say is that these days are the days of mourning of Sayyidul Shuhada. And we have to have a niyat for that. And to link it with Imam Hussain so that it doesn't go to waste. Inshallah, it's not going to waste. Inshallah, it's not going to waste. Even with the smallest intention of qurbatan ilallah, inshallah, it is something powerful. But my point is, it can be even more powerful. You can say, for example, Khudaya, with this Hamasaya Hussaini, this spirit of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, which is against falsehood and it is towards haqq, it is against batil and it is towards haqq. Khudaya, join me with Imam Zaman with this azadari of mine. Khudaya, join me with the struggle against falsehood. Make me always in the party of haqq and truth. In this way we can make our niyat, and hopefully Allah will reward us even more, and it will have even more impact upon us, inshallah. I think I'll stop here and we'll go on to Masaib, but this was just a brief, because today we don't have much time, so I try to make it quite short and hopefully something that we can go away with and we can implement, inshallah, in these last few weeks of the days of mourning, and then beyond that, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Imam Hussain alayhi salam, Azizan, Azadaran. Imam Hussain, there was a number of times that we see in the history of Karbala the presence of certain personalities that we cannot just take it as metaphorical. One is the presence of Amirul Mu'mineen on Sham-e Ghariba, and a number of presence of Bibi Fatima in the history of Karbala. Let me narrate those 2 or 3 incidents. One is on the night of Ashura. On the night of Ashura, what happens is, Imam Hussain alayhi salam takes some of his companions and he says, come with me into the Maidan of Karbala. Let me show you your places where you will be shaheed, where you will be killed, where you will fall. So he shows them, you will fall here, you will be killed here, you will be killed here. They say, Mawla, these are our places. Now, Mawla, show us your place. Where will you fall? Imam Hussain alayhi salam takes them to the place where we call Gaudal-e-Qatlagah, that lower place in that pit of Karbala where Imam Hussain was killed, Gaudal. And he says, look, here is where I will fall. And they say, Mawla, but this place looks different. This place looks like someone has come and cleaned this place for you. And he says, yes, my mother Zahra has come and cleaned this place. When I fall, she has cleaned this place for me. This was one mention of Bibi Fatima. Number two, on the day of Ashura, they say that the accursed Shimr, when he was cutting the neck of Abu Abdullah, he stopped two or three times. And then he says that every time I took the blade to the neck of Hussein, I heard the voice of a lady. I heard the voice of a lady, and she was saying, Waladi, Waladi, Kataluka Atshana. My son, they are killing you while you are still thirsty. And then we have the incident on the way to Sham. Janab Zainab is constantly thinking about the children, and she's always counting the children, that is everyone accounted for. On one occasion she sees one of the girls is not there, and she becomes worried. She starts to look around, she looks behind her, she sees the girl has fallen. So she herself makes herself fall from the camel onto the ground, and she manages to run towards the young girl who has fallen in the desert. When she reaches there, she sees the girl is being cuddled by a lady who is in niqab. She says, lady, who are you? No one has shown us kindness. From the moment of Shami Ghariba, when my brother was killed until now, no one has shown us kindness. Who are you who is taking care of the children of Abu Abdullah? She looks at her, she says, Zainab, don't you recognize your mother? I have been with you throughout the journey. Allah la'natullah al-qawm al-zalimeen, mata min Hussain.
बात आएगी पर्दे की तो याद आएगी ज़ैनब 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 तारीख़ ग़म और दर्द को दोहराएगी ज़ैनब बात आएगी पर्दे की तो याद आएगी ज़ैनब बात आएगी पर्दे की तो याद आएगी ज़ैनब उठती जो नहीं लाश जवां दीजिए आवाज़ उठती जो नहीं लाश जवां दीजिए आवाज़ उठती जो नहीं लाश जवां दीजिए आवाज़ पाला है तो लाशा भी उठा लाएगी ज़ैनब बात आएगी पर्दे की तो याद आएगी ज़ैनब बात आएगी पर्दे की तो याद आएगी ज़ैनब किस किस को संभालेगी किसे देगी तसल्ली किस किस को संभालेगी किसे देगी तसल्ली किस किस को संभालेगी किसे देगी तसल्ली जलते हुए खेमों से किसे लाएगी ज़ैनब बात आएगी पर्दे की तो याद आएगी ज़ैनब बात आएगी पर्दे की तो याद आएगी ज़ैनब मचलेगी जो सोने के लिए रात को बच्ची मचलेगी जो सोने के लिए रात को बच्ची मचलेगी जो सोने के लिए रात को बच्ची क्या देख तसल्ली उसे बहलाएगी ज़ैनब बात आएगी पर्दे की तो याद आएगी ज़ैनब बात आएगी पर्दे की तो याद आएगी ज़ैनब चादर چادر ہی کا دے دیتی کفن چھین لی وہ بھی چادر ہی دے دیتی کفن چھین لی وہ بھی چادر ہی کا دے دیتی کفن چھین لی وہ بھی اب بھائی کو کس طرح سے دفنائے گی زینب بات آئے گی پردے کی تو یاد آئے گی زینب بات آئے گی پردے کی تو یاد آئے گی زینب پرسے کو انیس آئیں گے اور پوچھیں گے احوال پرسے کو انیس آئیں گے اور پوچھیں گے احوال پرسے کو انیس آئیں گے اور پوچھیں گے احوال کس کس کو نشاں دروں کے دکھلائے گی زینب بات آئے گی پردے کی تو یاد آئے گی زینب بات آئے گی پردے کی تو یاد آئے گی زینب تاریخ غم و درد کو دہرائے گی زینب بات آئے گی پردے کی تو یاد آئے گی زینب بات آئے گی پردے کی تو یاد آئے گی زینب یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین اللہم صلی علی محمد
inshallah, salatu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad salawat.